The world can feel completely still. A field rests beneath a pale morning sky. Birds sit silently in the trees. Then, without warning, they rise together, not away from a predator, away from something no human can see. In a nearby home, a dog refuses to settle. It paces. It listens. It stares toward an empty doorway. Across an open field, cattle shift closer together. Their heads lift toward a horizon that still looks calm. Near the coast, animals move inland. The sea has not changed yet. The sky has not turned dark. And still, something in the landscape feels different, as though nature has noticed a message before we have. Before an earthquake, a storm, a flood, or a tsunami, do some animals sense that something is changing before people do? For centuries, people have wondered, were these animals somehow seeing the future? Science urges us to be careful. Animals may not be predicting disaster, but they may be noticing signals already moving through the world. A faint vibration beneath the ground. A distant sound below human hearing. A shift in pressure, scent, wind, or water. What feels invisible to us may not be invisible to them. Their ears may catch a distant rumble. Their bodies may feel the first tremor. Their instincts may respond before our instruments or our attention do. But unusual animal behavior is not a warning system we can rely on. Animals behave differently for many reasons. And after disaster strikes, people often remember the strange moments that came before. The moments that suddenly seem to mean something. So this is not a story about animals with supernatural powers. It is a story about senses we do not fully share. About a living world that may be responding to changes long before we understand them. And about the quiet signs that appear before everything changes. Across the world, people have told similar stories. Stories of animals behaving strangely just before nature changed everything. Before some earthquakes, dogs were said to bark through the night. Cats hid beneath furniture. Horses pulled against their ropes. And farm animals seemed unwilling to enter familiar shelters. Near vulnerable coastlines, there are accounts of wild animals moving away from the shore. Elephants walking inland. Birds leaving low ground. Dogs refusing to follow their usual paths toward the water. Then, hours later, the sea changed. Before severe storms, birds may alter their flight. Some disappear from open skies. Others gather low in trees, hedges, or sheltered ground. Pets may become restless long before rain begins. Cattle may turn together against a distant wind. Horses may grow tense beneath a sky that still looks clear. Around volcanic regions, people have reported animals leaving valleys before ash, gas, or tremors became obvious. In wildfire country, animals sometimes move before smoke fills the air. Not because they understand the future, but perhaps because they sense heat, scent, sound, or movement earlier than we do. These stories are powerful, and sometimes they are deeply moving. When disaster arrives, people remember the dog that would not stop barking, the birds that vanished, the herd that turned away from home. The details can feel like warnings written into memory. But memory has limits. Animals behave unusually for many ordinary reasons. A strange noise, a scent carried on the wind, a change in temperature, a nearby animal they can hear, but we cannot. And on the thousands of quiet days when nothing happens, those moments are rarely recorded. A restless dog is just a restless dog. A flock changing direction is just a flock in flight. Until disaster gives the memory a new meaning. That is what makes these stories so difficult to judge. They may contain real clues, but they may also contain the patterns our minds create after fear and loss. The question is not whether people saw something strange. The question is whether science can separate a true signal from a story we only understand afterward. To understand why animals may react first, we have to begin with a simple fact. They do not experience the world the way we do. Their senses are tuned to signals that can pass quietly around us. A sound too low to hear, a vibration too faint to feel, a change in the air before the sky even looks different. Some animals can hear low-frequency sound over long distances, a distant rumble beneath the ground, a deep pulse moving through the air, a storm far beyond the horizon. What reaches us as silence may reach them as a warning. Other animals may feel the earth directly, through paws, through hooves, through bodies resting close to the ground. A faint tremor can travel through soil, stone, roots, and water, long before people notice anything at all. Birds, insects, and many mammals are also sensitive to changes in air pressure. Before a storm arrives, the atmosphere can begin to shift. The pressure falls. The wind changes direction. Moisture gathers in the air. To an animal, these may not be small changes. They may be part of a familiar pattern. Scent can carry another kind of message. Smoke from a distant wildfire. Gas rising from deep underground. Salt, mud, rain, or moisture moving on the wind. Animals often live inside a world of smells far richer than our own. A change we barely notice may completely reshape their surroundings. For animals near rivers, lakes, and coastlines, water can speak too. A current shifts. The surface trembles. The shoreline sounds different. Fish, seabirds, and coastal animals may react to movement in the water long before it becomes obvious from land. There are also subtler possibilities. Changes in light, changes in temperature, a strange stillness in the wind. Some species may even respond to magnetic changes in ways scientists are still trying to understand. But these ideas are not simple answers. A sensitive animal does not necessarily know that disaster is coming. It may only know that the world feels wrong, different, unfamiliar. What seems invisible to us may not be invisible to another species. And sometimes, the first warning is not a sound we hear, but a signal another creature has already felt. The signals animals respond to are not always the same. An earthquake does not announce itself like a storm. A tsunami does not begin like a wildfire. Each disaster changes the natural world in its own way, and each may leave clues that certain animals notice first. Before an earthquake, the ground may begin to change long before people feel the main shaking. Tiny vibrations can move through soil and stone. Low sounds may travel beneath the surface. Water levels can shift in wells, ponds, or underground spaces. Some animals may react to these early changes. But reacting is not the same as knowing an earthquake is coming. Near the ocean, the warning signs may be different. A coastline can become strangely quiet. The water may pull back. Currents may change. Distant sounds may travel through the sea before people understand what they mean. Coastal animals may respond to movement, vibration, or unfamiliar sounds in the water. But even then, their behavior cannot tell us exactly what will happen next. Storms begin in the air, pressure falls, wind shifts, moisture gathers. Birds may change their flight paths. Insects may disappear into shelter. Farm animals may turn away from an approaching wind. They may be responding to weather already forming beyond the horizon. Floods can also change the world before the water arrives. Rain alters the smell of the soil. Rivers begin to sound different. Insects, birds, and small animals may shift their routines. For creatures that live close to the ground, a changing landscape may speak long before it looks dangerous to us. Wildfires and volcanoes bring another set of signals. Smoke can travel far ahead of flames. Heat can move through dry air. Gases can rise from the earth. Distant cracking, rumbling, or ash may alter the behavior of animals nearby. Sometimes, one animal's alarm becomes another animal's signal to move. This is the important distinction. Animals may detect change. They may respond to disturbance, but they do not necessarily understand the cause. A bird leaving the coast may not know a tsunami is coming. A dog pacing at night may not know the ground will shake. They may simply know that something around them has changed. Earth, water, fire, sky. Every disaster begins with signals. The question is whether animals are sometimes listening before we are. The idea is powerful. An animal senses something strange. It changes its behavior. Then, sometime later, disaster arrives. It is natural to believe the animal knew, but science has to ask a harder question. Did the animal truly respond to an early warning signal? Or did something ordinary happen at the same time? Animals are not machines. They are restless. They react to sounds, scents, weather, hunger, illness, other animals, and changes in routine. A dog may bark for reasons we never understand. Birds may change direction for reasons that have nothing to do with disaster. That is why a single story cannot prove prediction. Even 100 stories may not be enough. Researchers need to know exactly what happened, where the animal was, when its behavior changed, how long before the event it happened, and whether the same behavior appears on ordinary days too. This is the problem with memories recorded after disaster. After something frightening happens, the past can suddenly look full of warnings. The barking dog becomes important. The missing birds become important. The restless herd becomes important. But all the similar days when nothing happened are often forgotten. To test the idea properly, scientists need repeatable evidence. They need long-term records, video observations, location data, environmental measurements, reliable timing, and many examples that show the same pattern again and again. So far, no animal species has been proven to predict disasters reliably. Not dogs, not birds, not elephants, not any creature we can depend on as a warning system. That does not mean animals are sensing nothing. It means the evidence is not strong enough to call it prediction. But the story may not end there. One day, unusual animal behavior could become one small piece of a much larger picture. Alongside earthquake sensors, weather radar, ocean buoys, satellites, and emergency warning systems built on careful science. Animals may never replace instruments. They should never be treated as proof. But they may remind us to look closer. Because sometimes the living world notices change before we know how to measure it. For all the stories we have heard, one truth remains. Animals do not need to see the future to notice change. They live inside the movement of the world, the ground beneath their feet, the wind moving through grass, the scent of rain before it falls, the sound of distant water, the smallest shift in a familiar place. Human life often carries us away from these signals. Walls soften the wind. Roads cover the ground. Machines drown out the quieter sounds. Screens pull our attention inward. But beyond all of that, the living world is still listening. A bird notices a pressure change in the air. A dog pauses at a sound we cannot hear. A herd turns toward a distant movement in the earth. A coastal animal leaves the waterline before the horizon looks different. Not because it understands disaster, but because its world has already begun to change. Perhaps that is what makes these moments feel mysterious. They remind us that nature is not silent. It is full of signals. Vibrations in stone, pressure in the sky, currents beneath water, scents moving through the air, messages passing through the world in ways we are only beginning to understand. Science may never call animal behavior a reliable prediction system, and it should not. People need warning systems built on evidence, instruments, and careful observation. But animals may still teach us something important. They may show us where to look. They may reveal changes we have not yet learned how to measure. Perhaps the real mystery is not that animals can see the future. Perhaps it is that the natural world is always speaking. Through earth, through water, through wind, through every living thing that responds when the world begins to shift. And maybe our task is not to search for magic in their behavior. Maybe it is to listen more carefully to the animals, to the weather, to the ground beneath us, to the quiet changes that tell us we are part of a world far more connected than we imagine. A world that never stops speaking. We are only beginning to learn how to listen.